Hey everyone, welcome back to Sabotage, Sikhi, and Strength. Today I want to talk about something that completely shifted how I show up in the world. And honestly, it might save your sanity too. So here's the thing. For the longest time, I thought being nice and being kind were the same thing. I mean, they're both good, right? Well, I was wrong. One of them will actually drain you, and the other will actually strengthen your relationships in ways you never imagined. Let me tell you what happened when I decided to get into real estate. There was this neighbor in my building who had been in the business for over 40 years. When I mentioned I was thinking about real estate, she got really excited and lit up and said, "Oh, you absolutely must interview at my firm. It's the best." And you know what? She was right. My firm really is the best. But here's where it gets interesting. I went to the interview and they offered me a spot right away. I was so excited. When I told her I'd be joining, she smiled and said, "Congratulations." But I could kind of already sense something was shifting in her energy. Within a month, her whole demeanor toward me had completely changed. I remember a couple of months in, I was just learning how to read the market, figuring out how to create listings, onboarding my contacts, sending out newsletters. She marched right into the office one day and she was looking for me. She actually scared me a little bit to the point where I heard her scream my name when she entered into the office, and then I tried to hide under my desk. I just got totally weirded out. It was like she was on some kind of mission. And to this day, I still don't even know what that was about. And then it got a little bit worse. When I was preparing my first marketing brochure and my newsletters and sending it to the building, I was just going to distribute it to other residents, just saying that I had entered into the market. Basically, after I'd already created the mailings and put the postage on, and it was sent, she then went up to the building staff and told them that they were not allowed to put my materials in anyone's mailboxes. The staff told me about it later because they thought it was ridiculous. But I was pretty mortified. Instead of thinking, wait, what right does she have to interfere with my business? I was more worried about how she felt. And I was more concerned about whether I had done something rude or overstepped a boundary or was being disrespectful than I was actually about standing up for myself and my right to market to my own neighbors. So the first few years, I actually found myself telling her repeatedly, "Oh, don't worry, I'm not really focusing on this building." I mean, can you believe that? While it was true I wasn't focusing on the building, why wasn't I focusing on my own building? I was apologizing for trying to break into a new industry. I was tiptoeing around her discomfort instead of asserting myself and my business in my own building. So anyway, looking back, the whole thing was so silly. I think she assumed that maybe because I was a young mom with younger kids, I would treat this more as a part-time job and never really be successful. But within a couple of years, when I was closing higher end deals, she realized there was probably nothing she could do about it. And because she was older and because I was raised to always respect my elders, I just kind of took it all. I kept being nice. I'd smile even when she made some pretty annoying comments. And even when she was wrong, I just thought how it was more important to be more respectful and I didn't want to overstep. And here's what I realized. I wasn't really being kind to anyone, not to her, and definitely not to myself. I was just trying to avoid conflict, and I didn't want to seem as the pushy young agent. I just wanted to keep everything comfortable. And you know what? It didn't work anyway. She kept trying to undermine me until I finally learned to set some pretty clear boundaries. And that experience taught me the difference between niceness and kindness. Niceness is about keeping things smooth on the surface. It's about appearing agreeable, following those social scripts that we've all memorized, respecting your elders, don't make waves, be polite. But kindness is actually caring, even when it gets messy. For me, I just assumed that it was really important when I was starting out in the industry to always respect those that were more senior to me. And while it's very important to respect everyone, not just because they're senior to you, I think I ended up taking a lot more, BS from other agents who were older than me because I didn't really assert myself and stand up for myself from the beginning. So this also then leads me to kindness. And what is kindness? Kindness is actually about caring, even when it gets messy. So let me start with some pretty personal familial experiences that I think will probably hit home for a lot of you, especially if you come from cultures where respecting elders and maintaining family harmony is everything. Like I mentioned already, growing up, my parents taught us to assert ourselves academically, very strongly actually. I was taught to speak up in class, advocate for my grades, never let anyone ever underestimate me, and always be really confident in my space and really just be comfortable in my own skin. But at home, when family members behave badly or even distant family members just made snide remarks, we were always taught to be nice, to be understanding, to remember how privileged we were. That bad behavior was almost excused because that's just how they are, or they've been through a lot, or you don't know what they're going through. So actually, that kind of thinking and those sayings really did set me up for some pretty painful experiences later in life. And I'm honestly still a little bit annoyed with myself and how I dealt with them. So here's one example. There was this very distant relative, more senior in family rank, but not really senior. We were only a few years apart, who actually moved to the US. And we hadn't been in touch for years, even prior to that. And I had just recently moved to the US at that point too. I just moved a few years before her. In the few times we had interacted in the past decade, I kind of got the distinct impression that she didn't even like me because we barely spoke. Anyway, she relocated to the tri-state area, and I had no idea. She had never told me. And fast forward about a year or two later, another set of relatives were visiting, and I had sent her an email inviting her to dinner with all of us. I really didn't think anything of it when I sent her the email. And you know what she wrote back? She actually wrote back that she was respectfully declining because she was shocked that I didn't reach out and help her with her move. She was offended that I wasn't there for her during this major transition. I was completely stunned. She never told me she was moving. How was I supposed to know that I should reach out, especially given our practical, non-existent relationship? But here's the worst part. And this is the part that still really bothers me. And I think it was a big example of where I really let down myself. Instead of thinking, wait, this is completely unfair and manipulative, I immediately wrote back apologizing. I apologized for how she felt. I told her she was always welcome in my home. And I said I had no idea why she felt this way because in all honesty, I really didn't. But then the guilt and the shame that I felt, that she felt bad, I felt so horrible. I started to call her and text her multiple times. I practically begged her to come over, which was probably exactly what she wanted. Honestly, I should have ended the relationship right there with that email. But because I wanted to be nice and always try to make the peace, I let her manipulate me and the situation. But given how I was raised, just move on and forgive people, I just apologized with her. I always tried to still maintain some kind of relationship with her. I remember one time, I'd actually even suggested that we get our families together so our kids could get to know each other. And she wrote back that their weekends were very busy because that was their family time and that she was unable to do so. Even after that kind of text, I still don't understand what I was thinking. This was a huge lesson for me. And also to my younger self, why did I let someone bully me? Why didn't I get the hint that she just wanted me to chase her? Why did I still keep putting myself out there? So there are times when you need to remove yourself from these situations. And sometimes when you don't learn the lesson the first time, you're going to keep going through the same lesson multiple times until you actually do. So that's what happened in another relationship. There was someone, and I cared for them very deeply. And over time, especially after I had children, I started feeling like this person was actually becoming a bit dangerous. Well, not a bit, was dangerous to me, myself, my family, and to our family unit. And I could tell that something was off, but I could never really pinpoint it. And they were inconsistent, inauthentic, and frankly, I just got really bad vibes from the whole dynamic. My gut was actually telling me to create some distance for a very long time, but I was ignoring it because it was a relationship and there were other people involved, and I just didn't want to create drama. And I wanted to keep the peace, which I'm sure many of us can relate to. But then another family member kept asking me to keep reaching out to this person to make sure, that I try to just maintain relations and really get close and fix things and stay connected. So I did, at least 5 or 6 times over a year. And I sent texts, I called, I tried to set up times to connect, and this person kept ignoring everything. I was really confused where this family member that was pushing me to still be close to this person was even getting the narrative that I wasn't even trying. So one day when we were all sitting in a room and this topic came up, I explicitly said, but I have tried to reach out many, many times and I've gotten no response. Immediately, this person denied it completely. But when I said, I have all the messages right here in my phone, do you really want me to show everyone? She just screamed out, well, I've been really busy and I just didn't feel like it. Wait, what? I didn't feel like it? That's such a strange and almost childish reaction that I honestly didn't even know what to make of. Then this person started to cry and victimize herself, which then got everybody else to feel sorry for her. And suddenly I was the bad guy for calling out her bad behavior with evidence, but nobody was even paying attention to that. This is actually another position that I wish I had never even allowed myself to be in. When I went against everything in my gut, when I felt like something was off, I should have trusted that instead of letting people pressure me to stay connected with people who were being inauthentic, inconsistent, and honestly unhealthy, I should have just stopped. But these situations taught me something crucial. There's a difference between being nice and being kind, specifically being confidently kind. This is where the magic happens. It's kindness that comes from a place of self-worth, not fear. You're not being authentic because you're scared or insecure. You're coming from genuine care for both yourself and the other person. And here's what I learned. When you start practicing confident kindness, and just even kindness in general, even if you're not quite at the confident part yet, not everyone's going to love it. And that really threw me off at first. I spent years thinking that being accommodating was the same thing as being caring. But people actually get uncomfortable when you start to show up more authentically and establish some boundaries. And here's the thing nobody warns you about. Sometimes people's negative reactions to your authenticity aren't about anything you've done. Sometimes, and oftentimes, it's because your confidence is reflecting something they wish they had in themselves. That took me many, many years to learn. And I'm grateful I've learned the lesson. I'm sure there's more to learn. But have you ever experienced that? Where someone seems to dislike you for reasons that don't quite make sense? I used to twist myself into so many situations trying to fix these relationships by being nicer, being kinder, and realizing that what triggered them was actually my own authenticity, my own confidence, and my own sense of self-worth. So knowing that now, and wishing that someone had told me when I was younger about these lessons, I really wanted to share this for all of you because I think it's something that's really important, especially as young people when we're starting out our careers and juggling family life and just really discovering even more about yourself. You know, there's some people who no matter what you do, no matter how hard you try, may not just be ready or willing to receive you. And that's okay. For so many years, I kept thinking, if I did more of this, if I did less of this, okay, maybe I'll just do something else like this and I'll just do something else like this. I just kept going round and round in circles thinking, what is wrong with me? So let me give you some examples of what confident kindness really looks like in practice. So with that one family member who kept disrespecting me, the kind response wasn't to keep reaching out. Maybe if I just wrote back, I love you, and I have wonderful memories of our childhood together, but I will not accept being treated this way. And when you're ready to have a respectful conversation, I'm here. With that real estate agent, instead of smiling through her undermining comments and letting her sort of bully me, I should have learned to say, I'm here to serve my clients just like you are. And let's focus on that instead of competing with each other. The transition from nice to kind isn't about becoming harsh or critical. It's choosing truth with compassion over comfort with inauthenticity. And here's how you can actually make this shift, because it's not like we can just flip a switch, right? Well, first, you have to start checking in with yourself. Really ask yourself, what do I actually think about this? How do I really feel? I actually started journaling, which I found quite helpful, even if it was just 5 minutes or, whatever time you have, even if it's just a few, throughout the day or at one point in the day. Sometimes I'd just do a little prayer. But the point is, you can't be real with other people if you don't even know what you're thinking and what you're feeling. So I started small. Don't jump into the scariest conversation. Practice with stuff that doesn't actually matter as much. If your coffee order is wrong, instead of just accepting it, just say, hey, I actually ordered a latte. Do you think we could change this? And when you do have those bigger conversations, lead with love. These phrases that have really helped me are, I care about you, which is why I want to be honest about something. This relationship matters to me, so I want to talk about what's been on my mind. Or, I'm bringing this up because I love you and I want us to be good. The other thing, and this one I think was actually a bit more difficult, get comfortable with awkward silences. I think as you can tell, I'm a big talker. So I don't like a lot of silences. But there's going to be a lot of moments when the other person doesn't know what to say, or they get really defensive, reactive, aggressive even, or they need time to process. And you know what? That's not your job to fix. Just let it be weird, even for a minute. even if it's for more than a minute. It's okay. Because here's the truth. The world doesn't need more nice people. We have plenty of those. What we need are people who are brave enough to care for real, even when it's uncomfortable. And that's exactly what kindness is. It's love with courage. So send me your thoughts at hello@sakurasikhistrength.com, or you can find me at Sakura Sikhi Strength on Instagram or TikTok, because this conversation is so much bigger than just my experience. Until next time,